I've been at a number of Synergy conferences, and I'm here today wearing a bit of a different hat. I'm here representing IAP2 Wild Rose, and that is the Alberta chapter of the International Association for Public Participation. So what we do is we encourage organizations to engage people in decisions that impact their lives. I think that sounds actually a lot like Synergy, including community in decisions that impact them. And so I think that there's a really good tie between Synergy and the work that we do in IAP2. In fact, a number of my colleagues from IAP2 are in the audience today, and we have a representative from our national organization, IAP2 Canada, that's with us, so I'm amongst friends. A lot of our people are involved in Synergy groups, and we think that there's a real tie and a real support that IAP2 can give to the Synergy groups. We think our work can be of interest, and I'm going to tell you why. Synergy groups are a great vehicle for collaboration, and collaboration is something that IAP2 really supports. Sometimes, though, I think that organizations, Synergy groups, just don't get far enough. They just don't get beyond inform. So beyond inform, what do I mean by that? Well, if that is your question, you're lucky, because that's what my presentation is about. When we're talking to community, here's some of the things that we hear. I feel that I've been talked at and not talked to. We sent out lots of information, but they still don't understand our project. The whole process just seems like window dressing. We told the company what the issue was, but nothing is happening. We've changed stuff, but they're still complaining. I think what you'll hear from those interactions is that these Synergy groups and consultation processes are perhaps missing the mark. We sometimes have participants, community, and industry that are not understanding some of the basic concepts of good, meaningful consultation. Or the organizations are not following best practices when it comes to engagement. We often see organizations that are just informing their stakeholders about the activities, about the project, but not really engaging the stakeholders in the decision-making process. And we also see organizations missing the mark because what they're doing is they're focusing on the regulations and not going beyond inform. When we look closely at Synergy groups and consultation processes, we see that not all stakeholder engagement is the same. Each Synergy group is unique, its members, its issues, the things that it deals with, and each company is unique, and they have different processes and policies that are internal. So sometimes it seems like we're kind of looking at apples and oranges. The key to the process is to understand what good engagement is, to understand the principles of meaningful engagement. Some of these principles are pretty basic, and most of the people in this room would probably recognize them, and they've been mentioned by some of my co-presenters. Trust, mutual respect, openness and transparency, and good communication. Communication is key. Those of us in Synergy would say, hey, these are the great principles that we should be following. And those of us involved in IAP2 would concur and then maybe suggest that we could go a little bit farther. IAP2 has spent significant time looking at what makes engagement meaningful. And they've come up with a set of core values for the practice of public participation. And I'm just going to go through them quickly. The first and foremost is that we agree that the public can have a say in decisions that impact them. We also believe that when you're putting your process together, you need to make a commitment as to how the input from the community is going to be used. You want to make a commitment, or you also want to design a process that takes into account the needs of the decision maker, the needs of the community, so the participants' needs are being realized. Next, you want to, sorry, my glasses need to be fixed. You want to seek out and involve those that are potentially affected. So those that might have an interest in the decision being made. And you want to ask people how they want to participate. And this is something that Carrie and Carl had talked about. How do you design a process that meets the needs of the community and people have a say in how they participate? You want to give people the information that they need to participate in a meaningful way. And finally, you want to tell them how their input impacted the decision. Even if it was only a little bit, let them know how they had an impact on the decision. I believe these core values can apply to synergy groups as well. And many of the challenges that were expressed in the quotes that were on slide 2 can be addressed through these core values. But let's take this a little bit farther. Let's see what else IAP2 has developed that might apply to synergy groups. Those of you who've been in sessions with me before will recognize this. This is the IAP2 spectrum. And IAP2 recognizes that not all situations require the same amount of public input. All right, so IAP2 has developed a spectrum of engagement with 5 levels. They're inform, consult, involve, collaborate, and empower. And each level has a goal. So what are we trying to accomplish at this level? And each level has a promise to the public about how their input will be used in the decision-making process. And this goes back to the core values about making a commitment and how much the public can influence the decision. It's important when we're selecting the level to keep in mind the project, the audience, and the decision maker, because if the decision maker is not supporting the process, then the process won't move forward. So we want to make sure that the project proponents' needs are being met and that they're considered when we design our process. So some of you out there may be saying, hey, inform is a level, so why isn't it okay for us to just inform people? No, it's not. Going just to inform is not good process. You want to include inform as in giving people the information they need to participate. But inform in and of itself is not a process. We want to remember that people need to have a say, and just giving them information is not allowing them to have a say. I've been involved in synergy groups and consultation processes at the consult, the involve, and collaborate level, and I even was involved in a group that went to empower on some issues. So I know that this spectrum is really applicable to the work that we do. As a synergy group, if we're having a discussion and people are listening and considering the input, we're at consult. And if we're sitting down and putting together management practices and the sort of work that in the handbook Laika was talking about, then we're already at involve and maybe at collaborate. I know there's a few of you out there that are still hanging on to the notion that inform is just okay, and I'd like to suggest that it doesn't solve our issues when it comes to oil and gas development. And to put things into context, there we go, I talked to some people with the ERCB about how this fits with Directive 56. If all you are required to do is notify, then yes, you can inform. But if personal consultation and confirmation of non-objection are required, then you need to at least go to consult. And if you're looking at addressing concerns or ADR, then you're already at the involved level. If you're looking at the life of the project, you may have to go to collaborate. So think about that when you're putting your processes together. So now that you know what I mean by going beyond inform, I want to suggest that some groups are already doing this, and I congratulate those that are there. But for others, I'd like to issue a challenge to go beyond inform, A challenge to have respectful discussion about issues that matter and listen to each other and consider the input. A challenge for communities to see industry as a partner. Are you up for the challenge? Consider what it would take to move to a higher level of engagement. You might want to also consider the alternative. Well, I've just scraped the surface of this topic. I hope I've piqued your curiosity. I'd love to continue this discussion. Please visit me and my colleagues at the IAP2 booth at the back and learn more about our organization. Let's talk about how, together, we can go beyond inform. Thank you.